scratched out.
Oh. Okay, call to order. The May 23rd, 2023 meeting for the Board of Adjustment is now called to order. Can I get a roll call, Madam Secretary?
Yes. Board Member Babcock? Here. Vice Chairperson Baker?
Here.
Chairperson Keller? Board Member Duval?
Here.
Board Member Nosalik?
Here.
Board Member Thurkel? We have a quorum.
Okay. The first item on the agenda is the approval of meeting minutes. I would like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the April 27th, 2023 Board of Adjustment meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a first from Mr. Babcock and a second from Mr. Duval. Any questions or comments? Madam Secretary, please provide a roll call.
Board Member Babcock?
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Baker?
Yes.
Board Member Duval?
Yes.
Board Member Nosalik?
Here.
We have 4 votes yea.
Okay.
Motion carries.
Second item on the agenda is a request for the variance, which was filed by the applicant, Tracy Deal from Clayton Signs Incorporated on behalf of Chick-fil-A. Madam Secretary, will you please provide an introduction for this item? Do we have is the city attorney going to be here or?
She's on, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can put her on to where.
Oh, okay.
There's Holly, thank you. Yes, this is a request for a variance from Branson Municipal Code, Section 94-137.7, pertaining to signage for the property located at 2915 West 76 Country Boulevard, Branson,
Pardon
Missouri.
me? Could you up it a little bit?
How do you turn it up? Just talk, okay.
There you
yep.
go.
Yeah, there we go.
Were you finished?
I was, I can.
Oh,
do it-
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we proceed, we do need to let everybody know that we are recording tonight's meeting so that in case of an appeal, it can be transcribed. Before you speak during this public hearing, we will have you sworn in by the recorder. I think that may be misparent. Once they have finished, we will ask you then to please fill out the sign-in sheet at the podium, state and spell your name for the record, and give your address. I will now open the public hearing for Tracy Deal's request for an variance. We will first hear a report on this variance from the city staff, and then we will hear a report from the applicant. Everybody who wishes to speak on this matter tonight will have an opportunity to be heard. We ask you to be mindful of everyone's time and refrain from making comments that are repetitive. We ask that the member of the public please limit their comments to 5 minutes or less. Planning Director Classi.
Okay.
Did I say your name right?
Calusi.
Calusi. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Would you please present a report on behalf of the city staff?
Okay, I'm going to swear you in, Mark. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Did you hear that? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Alrighty.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. We will now hear. No, wait a minute. You're supposed to go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. So, thank you. Thank you for hearing me. So, as our secretary has already outlined, we do have a request at 2915 West 76 Country Boulevard. This is on behalf of Clayton Signs Incorporated, who filed the variance request, who's filed it on behalf of Hutchinson Hospitality, LLC. This particular property lies within the entertainment district on the zoning map. And it is specifically dealing with a variance of the Municipal Code Section 94-135.7 pertaining to signage in this particular district. The existing conditions for this site is actually vacant. However, it's a 2.21 acre lot with a proposed Chick-fil-A fast food restaurant which you can see highlighted in the center of this page, right between two existing businesses. The particular point of the ordinance we are going to consider specifically tonight is 94-137-7, and the specific area to highlight is the monument sign and the 100-foot spacing specifically between the signs that can be on a particular premises, and only one sign per premises. So just a quick rundown again of Section 94-155-D2, which outlines what variances can be considered. The written application, which was all in your staff, or excuse me, was all within your packet for the consideration for this evening, is a written response to a variety of questions demonstrating that a special condition or circumstance exists on that particular piece of property or the structure involved, which are not applicable to other land or structures in that same district. Or number two, that a literal interpretation of the provisions of this chapter would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same district under the terms of this chapter. Or number three, that the special conditions and the circumstances do not result from the actions of the applicant. And that number four, that the granting of the variances requested will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by this chapter to other lands or structures within the same district. No non-conforming use of the neighboring lands or structures in the same district, and no permitted or non-conforming use of this land or structures in other districts should be considered grounds for the issuance of a variance. So that relies with the specific request we have today. As you will see on the site layout of where this particular sign is being proposed, if you look at the blue arrow, there's actually an already existing off-premises sign. There's an easement on the very corner of this particular property, which, as you can follow the red line, then that is the location of the proposed sign. I apologize that you can't see this very well on this particular diagram, but you can see that this sign is within 42.2 feet of the existing sign, which obviously is less than the 100-foot separation distance required by the ordinance. This is what the proposed monument sign is to look like. This sign is comprised of two main parts: the main Chick-fil-A sign that everyone loves, and then also the changeable message signboard right below the main Chick-fil-A sign. And as you can see, kind of in between the elevation layout here, you can see a little gray figure that shows the general size of this. As you can see that the sign is 14 feet to the top of the sign from the ground. The property itself, you're going to see a couple different angles of where this particular property sits within on 76 corridor. This is an angle looking from the north. This is again from the east. This is from the south. And this is from the west. And this is a general layout of the entirety of the city, and you can see within the purple box is the site location, and the zoomed in location, as you can see here, this is the layout of this particular proposal. Several things we consider with any proposal is what the different utilities and things like that are in an area. As you can see, there is sewer to the rear of the property and water to the front of this property along the 76 corridor. The particular zoning for this district, as well as all the neighboring properties to the west and to the east, are all within the entertainment district of the zoning ordinance. And as I had mentioned earlier, the existing conditions on the site, the existing land use is vacant. And then we also like to consider what is in our community plan, which is our city comprehensive plan for 2030. The existing lot conditions, as I mentioned, are vacant. The core entertainment district will continue to be the #1 activity center for the future of the 2030 vision of Branson. The district frames the 76 Country Boulevard. It is the primary transportation corridor connecting the core of the downtown to its larger community west of the U.S. Highway 65. And it is the entrance and the main gateway into Branson. And also you can see on our preferred land use plan within that community plan, this is indicated as core entertainment. Just a quick layout of some previous variance requests that were before your board. Obviously, in 2023, this is your second variance request that is being considered. There were none in 2022. In 2021, there were 3, but none of the 3 were sign variances. None in 2020, none in 2019. There was 1 sign variance in 2018 that was denied. There were no sign variances within 2017. And then in 2016, there were no sign variances. There were several other variances that were submitted. And then in 2015, there were no sign variances, but there was one for a height for a telecommunications tower. And just simply due to the fact that the proposal does not meet the setback requirements, as well as the reasoning because of visual clutter, particularly on the corridor, staff is not actually recommending approval of this variance.
Okay, and Mark, excuse me, if you could make a note for the record that you're entering the PowerPoint, the application, and any other documents that are submitted by staff, please. Just make it on the record that we're submitting the PowerPoint that you just went through and the related applications for the record.
Oh, yeah, sorry. So, yes, so everything that I mentioned earlier, the staff report, as well as the PowerPoint that was just presented to your meeting, will be part of the final record of this variance hearing.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Calusi. Now, we will hear from the applicant or their representative regarding the request. Please be sure you'll get sworn in, please be sure to sign in and give us your name and address for the record.
Absolutely. My name's Kevin Hutchison, Kevinhutcheson. I'm the franchise owner for the existing Chick-fil-A restaurant and the one that will begin construction here soon. Address of record is normally, I use the restaurant address here at 607 West Main Street, Branson, Missouri. So,
I'm going to go ahead and swear you in.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am, 100%.
Okay, Mr. Hutchinson, give us your
Yes, thank you so much.
request.
Thank you for your time this evening. We just want to walk through a few items that we feel does qualify this particular instance as one that would maybe meet an exception as the reason for the creation of this board, one of those. So we have purchased the property at 2915 West Highway 76, closed on Tuesday of this week. Plan to start staging construction equipment a week from Monday and moving dirt the week after that. So we're well into the getting this project out of the ground. We've known that the sign variance is going to be something that we had to address, mainly because on the property that we purchased, which if you've seen from the graphics there is very, it's long and narrow. And so the previous owner of the property had a billboard that was installed on the corner that would separate the Chick-fil-A property and the Cheddar's property adjacent. And in having that billboard installed, then eliminated the ability for us to install a sign that complies with the current sign code to be able to have the luxury of advertising our business as, from what I can gather, every other business on Highway 76. I drove the strip today. I really couldn't find any businesses that didn't have signs. I'm sure there are probably a couple out there, but I think that's probably a part of the reason that one of those last slides that you saw where there had only been, I guess, one sign variance in the last 8 years requested is because most properties are either going to be wide enough to be able to accommodate or are going to be able to comply to the sign code with no issue. So obviously we do have an issue with the size of the lot and the proximity of that billboard. And, in all the options that we looked at, and we're very thankful for the city for presenting some options for us to consider. Unfortunately, they just weren't ones that were viable for this particular project. And I'll kind of walk through a few of those items that were presented and kind of the why behind, why it doesn't work in this scenario. I know that one of the items that was mentioned is trying to prohibit visual clutter from the entertainment district, which is, in I would say the opinion of many, probably a fairly cluttered district in general. But when we're thinking about that area, caricatures are not regulated, and so it's proposed that we could put one or multiple large cows that represent our brand in the front as well. Not only does that not meet our Chick-fil-A brand standards, we don't have a precedent for that. We also felt like that would create a safety concern, because we know that if people will climb up on a big Adirondack chair and take pictures, who knows how many people would be running from whatever direction to take pictures with an oversized Chick-fil-A cow that doesn't exist anywhere else in the country. So we did feel, with the traffic flow that we know will anticipate on that lot, that would create not only a safety concern, but doesn't align with brand standards that we have across the country. Another recommendation that was made is for rooftop signage. And currently our building, so the way that we can continue to build at the pace that we do is by having building models that are able to be replicated across the country. And so our buildings are currently not designed for heavy rooftop signs. And not only that, if you're approaching our property from the east, I walked it off today and marked out, and I think Jennifer may have a picture that can be thrown up on the screen, but we're actually 150 feet back. So I'm standing at the building facade right now on the property. So this sits further back than Cheddar's. It sits quite a bit further back than the Americana Theater. And so even if rooftop signage were an option with a redesigned structurally sound roof to support that, we are still well off the road to be able to accommodate the drive-through stacking and traffic flow that we want to accomplish in being a good neighbor to those around us. So we felt like the rooftop signage was not viable. One other option was to reconfigure the lot to allow the signage to be placed in the entrance and have some sort of island there. That would be a concern of mine, from not only safety of just the visibility of what you would be able to see going and coming down east and west on Highway 76, but also we get a tractor trailer delivery, 53-foot truck, 6 nights a week into our lot through our distribution channels. And so I know that if they've run into my canopy on my current lot that isn't even in the parking lot, somebody's going to hit that sign. And as the only means to egress on that property, I feel like if we have an accident or someone hits the sign and there's damage, then that basically cuts off our revenue generating mechanism access to the lot. And so those things, while we're very appreciative of the outside the box thinking to try to help us create something that was viable, it unfortunately in our scenario is not. So when we work through those items of special condition, so obviously this is a very long and narrow lot. The overall width does not allow us to comply with the 100-foot due to the billboard that was previously placed. Again, that would speak into the circumstances that were not caused by the owner. And so the billboard being placed, if that billboard was never there, we wouldn't even be having a conversation. We do feel like that up and down Highway 76, there are all types of signs, everything from sprouting out of buildings to animals hanging off the side of those, large Titanic, Ferris wheels, all kinds of things. The sign that you saw that we're presenting is less than half of the maximum allowable size of the sign that could be placed in this particular lot, regardless of sign code distance in between. So we aren't proposing anything that's oversized, gaudy, or otherwise. And so we are going with a smaller sign. It's not the sign up in the air like my existing restaurant, and takes up less than half the allowable space. And all those things are designed with the United States Sign Council guidance for everything from lighting to appropriate sizing based on the building, all those things. So when we design signs through Clayton Sign Company, which does 100% of the signage for Chick-fil-A, all those things are taken into account. Again, the distance off, we did have to bump back a little bit due to that easement. But then when we think about the overall lot plan, I'm sure you've seen in the news where a busy Chick-fil-A drive-through can go out into a main road and cause some havoc. And so we've been fortunate to be able to manage our property here efficiently, and that's the spirit of being able to do this as well. We are developing a very large portion of this property with a large retaining wall and being able to put 75 vehicle parks as well as a 50-car drive-through stack so that we can manage traffic to the best of our ability. We've also deployed some options as traffic were to get busier on 76. We'll have a kind of a lift and shift option to immediately divert traffic to the right with magnetic delineators and cones that can be put in place as needed. So we feel like the overall lot has been well thought out, and the approval of the sign would just allow us to be able to accomplish a few things. Obviously, first, we want to be able to advertise our business as others are able to do and allow them to see where we are. Being it that we have to sit back a little bit further off the road, I can go ahead and tell you what will happen coming from the east. People will know the Chick-fil-A's coming up, but they won't see us, and then they're going to go and they're going to turn around in the Cheddar's or in the Wax Museum or in the Presley's Theater, and then they're going to do a U-turn and create, again, just more complexity to getting to where we currently are. And so we feel like this is not an unreasonable request, and one that we would love to receive approval for a variance. I'm glad to answer any questions that you have.
What is the total width of the lot that that you have available there? I'm assuming, so from the edge of the billboard over to where the other
Yep.
corner would be.
From easement to corner, I don't have that exact number, but I'm
Closer.
guessing probably 130 feet, if I had to guess.
County map shows it at 145.
145, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have 3 lanes, 1 entrance and 2 exit to be used for left and right turns, or there again, if we felt the need was to present a right turn only out of the lot, then we do have a strategy for that as well, but yeah.
I was looking at the diagram here, and this is kind of a side question, but
Sure.
it looks like when they exit your drive up, they're going to cross in front of your building, and then you're only going to have 1 lane in, 2 lanes out.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes. So the drive-through stack, and what we don't show, the whole lot, so that drive-through goes
Goes all the way.
way
Yeah.
to the back, yes.
Yeah, I can see that here.
So they'll merge into 1 lane and then have to turn right to exit the lot, either that left or right-hand turn.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And then and what you're wanting is the sign is going to be basically a little off center, but essentially it's the center of the building next to the highway is what you're asking for.
Yes, sir, very close to
Okay.
that. Yes, sir.
I think you said that if that billboard didn't exist, there'd be no problem. Does the staff agree with that? And
I will not answer for the staff, but I see some nodding heads that yes.
And the off-premise sign is something totally off-premise.
It is due to the easement that was granted.
I mean, whatever's on the sign, there's no relationship to anything in this neighborhood. Is that correct?
Has no relationship to Chick-fil-A. Is that what you're asking?
Or anywhere, where does that advertise?
Sure.
Unfortunately, it advertises whatever they would like. So ultimately, McDonald's could choose to advertise on the sign that appears to be on our property.
That's not an answer, yeah.
Yeah, so he essentially answered the question. It's a digital sign. They can actually advertise whatever they want on that sign. I think the original intent is that they can, the previous property owner who put the sign up was the one to carve that easement out so they can have a perpetual income on that area. But you're perfectly correct. That sign could be used to advertise literally anything, whatever they would agree to.
How did they get that sign? Was it because it was already there and then they just kind of changed it up because of the existing business? Or was that something they just came in and said, oh, well, it complies and we'll slap this up here? And
Well, since it was an off-premise site sign, there was no, the sign requirements are a little bit different for off-premise sign requirements. There's actually a 200-foot distance. There are no 200-foot off-premise signs within the vicinity of that particular sign, so I'm assuming when they constructed that, there was no problems with it. And since the easement wasn't carved out at the time they constructed it that way, there was no issues with it when it was constructed at that particular time. It wasn't until, obviously now that you're having this other sign proposed.
what was there previously? I've lived here all my life and I can't remember what was there. I know a lot of it got torn up during the tornado, but I don't remember.
There was a substantial amount of parking way down the hill, like 150 feet beyond the back of the Cheddar's building, parked and striped. I've walked far enough to where I thought maybe I would run up on some people in the woods. And there was a tremendous amount of parking, but I assumed there was some type of small building there. But I have no idea. I haven't been able to.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But the billboard was just constructed within the last couple of years.
I'd like to clarify that when I said 145, that also included where that sign setting.
Correct,
So
yes.
that area's been blocked off, so that's to
less.
the other side of the sign.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so it's probably about 130 in total.
Do you know how far it is from to the east to that sign?
159 feet.
Huh?
Oh, 159 feet, where the
159?
proposed is. It's here in the staff report.
Is it, okay, I missed that.
That's okay.
And that's from your.
That's from the other sign to the east, the Americana Theater. Is that the one you're asking?
Yeah,
Yes, from the Americana sign to the proposed sign is 159 feet.
And so from the Americana, just doing some quick math, from the Americana sign to the existing billboard is 205 feet.
Correct.
So it's 5 feet within
barely
Yes.
got room.
regulation.
Yes, you had a
Between the two signs.
5-foot window to design the whole property that will see an average of 1,200 cars a day come through. So we didn't feel like that 5-foot allowed us to design to maximize what we need to do for the development.
If this variance approved, will that fit in between the two signs and still give you the 100-foot between the two?
It would go in the middle of our entrance. Is that what you're asking? If we were to be in that 5-foot window?
Window?
Yeah,
will fit within that
it would be in we would have to redesign the entrance to something less favorable for traffic.
So there's a very narrow window that's got to go if the variance is approved.
Well, to meet the sign code,
Yeah. to meet the sign.
yes, but if the variance is approved, then it would go exactly where it's shown on the graphic with the red sign on top.
That answered my question. The variance is for that particular spot.
That's correct. Yes, we're going to put it in that exact spot. Yes, sir.
Okay. And this will be perpendicular to 76.
It will be perpendicular to 76. Yes, sir. Just as shown, with the letters not 14 feet up in the air. So my team that will be changing the letters will be very happy if approved.
I have a question for city staff. When you were given the presentation, you said that the sign did not comply with the setback. Can you fill me in on were you meaning left to right setback or from the highway back?
No, just sorry, I shouldn't have said setback. It should have been the distance between signage.
Okay,
So, sorry.
okay. I didn't know if there was also a question on distance from the highway back to where the sign is. So there's no problem with how close the sign is sitting or far back from the city. It's only what's to the left and the right of that sign.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
One more how far will that sign be in front of your actual building?
Well, let's see if I have that exact measurement. If not, I can get pretty close.
Approximately be fine, sir.
Yep. So I'm gonna say from the edge of the sign to the building is probably still 90 feet.
I'm gonna ask a ridiculous question here, but what's the possibility that you buy that billboard out? Have you tried?
Yeah, I just sold a digital billboard on Highway 65 because I don't have the time to make a whole bunch of phone calls to keep it full. But we did discuss that possibility with the owner, and that was not something that they wanted to entertain. Now, that was with Chick-fil-A. Whether he would deal with me direct as a local business owner, I don't know, but I know that was broached during the negotiations, and because ultimately, there again, they would not agree to any oversight as to who could be on that board. So our competitors could go and say, don't visit Chick-fil-A, with that board and use it. Hopefully they would not do that, but somebody could potentially advertise, their business right at the corner of our property that would negate any good that a sign would do.
I have another ridiculous question. Could you lease that sign for
Le-
Chick-fil-A?
We could at a very high rate per month that would only provide us one sign, one side of the sign. So, I mean, we could, and, very well may potentially for, seasons of time. But, I know that if I were to rent that same digital board, it would probably cost me in the range of, to rent both sides, $15,000, $18,000 a year to rent one out of 8 spaces. So if you wanted to rent it all, then it'd probably cost, in the $100,000 a year range to control a digital space.
Oh, that's a multiple sign then.
Yes, sir. Changes every 7 seconds. So there's Queen Esther 6. I feel I saw something for Silver Dollar City on it. I mean, but they can change it on a monthly basis. So anything can go on that board at any time, and it's a constantly revolving message of whoever would prefer to advertise on it.
So we have two distinctly different types of signs we're dealing with.
Yes, sir. One is static that would never change unless we just change the small letters at the bottom, and the other is digital that can have anything on it at any given time.
Okay, does anybody have?
I
Guess
make
we'll
a
open-
motion.
Well,
Go ahead.
I guess I'll announce this even though nobody's here. If there's anybody from the public that'd like to speak, no one appearing, we will close for that. At this time, it looks like everybody's been given a chance to speak. We've already asked the clarifying questions, I think, so at this point, I will be happy to entertain a motion to the applicant's request for a variance for the Branson Municipal Code, Section 94-137.7 pertaining to signage for the property located at 2915 West Highway 76, or West 76 Country Boulevard, Branson, Missouri. Old habits are hard to break.
Motion to grant variance.
So we have a first for a motion to grant. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Do we have any additional discussion? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, would you please call for a roll vote?
Board Member Babcock?
I'm voting to approve the variance, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, the motion was to approve the variance.
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Baker?
Yes.
Board Member Duval?
Yes.
Board Member Noselik?
Yes.
Okay.
That's four, the motion carried.
Okay. Motion is carried. We are advised by our attorney that our decision needs to be in writing, and it's preferred to be accompanied by the findings of fact and conclusions of law. Therefore, I will entertain a motion to direct the city attorney to prepare our final findings of fact and conclusions of law consistent with our decision regarding Tracy Deal's request variance from Branson Municipal Code, Section 94-1377, pertaining to the signage for the property located at 2915 West 76th Country Boulevard, Branson, Missouri.
Motion is stated.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none or hearing none, Madam Secretary, could we have a roll call vote?
Can you unmute?
Member.
We can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I just needed some clarification. You can go ahead and vote, but I have a couple of questions regarding clarification on the motion.
Do we need to wait for your questions, or do your questions first, or go ahead and vote for the findings of fact?
Go ahead and vote, and then I'll ask the question.
Okay, I didn't hear that correctly.
Go ahead and vote.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So, Madam Secretary, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Board Member Babcock?
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Baker?
Yes.
Board Member Duval?
Yes.
Board Member Noselik?
Yes.
We have 4 yeas, the motion carries.
Okay, looks like we've passed the findings of fact. Now we'll entertain the questions.
Okay, what specifically are the special conditions and circumstances which exist that make this land peculiar and that makes it not applicable to other land and structures? That's sub 1. That special conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land or structure involved, in this case it's the land, and which are not applicable to other land or structures in the same district.
The presence of a legacy easement upon the purchase of the property creates an incomplete, you don't see that in the presence of other properties in the same district or in the same general vicinity.
And wasn't that legacy easement due to the negotiations by Chick-fil-A with the prior landowner who retained the easement?
Yes, yeah, the previous owner had the entire property, and then they held out that one spot.
So it was not a
So
result.
Chick-fil-A chose to purchase it with the easement.
They were not granted the opportunity to purchase the easement, where that existing sign.
Well, they negotiated purchase of their own land.
He
I
would
just
not.
have to find how it's not caused by the property owner, and the property owner would be who negotiated that purchase, which did not include a negotiation for, as part of that agreement, the prior owner was given an easement and a continued sign.
Can you go up to the podium, please, Kevin?
So I guess maybe there's 2 points to that. So beyond the sign, I think the width of the lot is probably of noteworthy entry into into the record of being a special condition because it only allowed for an incredibly narrow area for a sign to be installed. But so the property owner was unwilling to sell us the sign, therefore the entire piece of property. So the only thing that was made available for purchase was the property without the easement, or with the easement.
Did that clarify your question?
Well, I have to be careful about having him give additional evidence because you guys have already made a decision. So I'm just trying to understand what you're finding as the special circumstances that exist. You're saying that it's the existence of an easement.
And a combination of the fact that the width of the lot where the sign would generally be located for other properties is not 200 feet. So logically, you cannot put a midpoint for a sign to be compliant were there to be a sign at the borders of the property.
Well, also, I want to clarify, and Mr. Hutchinson said during his testimony that when they purchased the land, I distinctly heard him refer or infer that where that existing billboard sign was not offered to them. So that initially is what created, since they weren't allowed the opportunity to purchase that sign. If that sign had not been there, then the way I understood it from the staff report, we wouldn't have had to have this meeting to begin with. If he would have been allowed to purchase that sign, we probably wouldn't have had to have the meeting either because it would have been an existing sign. Is that correct? So based on the testimony, there was definitely an undue, can't think of the word now, but it was basically
Special conditions and circumstances.
special conditions
exist
that was
that are peculiar to the land.
peculiar, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Do we need to address any of the other sub-points?
No, unless there's something specific you want to tell me and how it is not conveying a specific right commonly enjoyed by other properties.
I could go bullet point by bullet point. The second bullet point there, all other businesses in this entertainment district have the right to display their place of business and to identify their place of business with a sign. The special conditions do not result from the actions of the applicant, and the granting of this variance does not confer on the applicant any special privileges, nor does it deny to other lands by granting this variance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, this will conclude our meeting. I now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Okay, Madam Secretary, may we have a roll call vote?
Board Member Babcock?
Yes.
Board Member Baker?
Yes.
Board Member Duval?
Yes.
Board Member Nosalik?
Here.
We have 4 yeas, the motion carries.
The meeting
The meeting is
adjourned.
adjourned.